Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. I am the Crypto Crow here with my developer, Jason Lee, who's been working on Soblocks.com for quite some time now. And we are adding new functions and features all the time. And this is basically our weekly kind of dev update on what's going on, where he's updating me and you pretty much at the same time. I mean, we chat every day, but ultimately a lot of the big stuff he saves for the weekly report. And we just decided to start sharing them with the public. So here we go. What's up, man? How's your weekend been?
Good. Another weekend come and gone.
As you can see, he has the personality of a hardcore coder.
It's all a blur at this point.
Ones and zeros, folks. Ones and zeros.
Yep.
So what's up, dude?
Cool. Yeah. So we got some good things to announce. Pushed out a release. And I put together a nice little presentation that I follow along with this time. Let me share my, yeah, you're gonna have to let me share my window here. Screen. All right, let me pick which one. There it is. Cool. Okay, so yeah, this is our update for today. So I'm just going to go through and kind of give a current status on where we're at, what we've been doing. As you know, we finished up our updates to the light paper on the governance. So we had, you and I were hammering through these, just the big main features that we're going to be focusing on, over the next, quarter or two. And so, we had all that stuff bullet pointed out, and so now it's all nice and neat in the actual document itself. And so we've broken it down. I can share that too. We've broken it down into sections now. We got primary features. So our two big primary features, like we were talking about, really that we're focusing on, it's the core of the whole system, is posting and groups, right? This is the way that people are gonna use to be communicating, sharing, and stuff like that. So, we wanted to finalize and break it out into some paragraphs, that describe and go through the, a lot of the high level of how we're going to be approaching these, what makes them different. Obviously, everybody knows, what a, post or a tweet is, right? And what you do in groups. So, it's really, about what we're going to be aiming for in ours. And so, we talk a little bit about our approaches to membership. You and I talked about some really cool things that I haven't seen anybody doing yet, which is allowing people to restrict access to their groups, based on, NFTs, right? So you can imagine, you mint 5,000 NFTs, you have this little NFT community for that, series. And so, a cool thing is like you can have, spin up a group, and it's like, hey, if you're holding one of these NFTs, you get access. So, we're looking at that as sort of like a first kind of stage into people groups, I guess companies, organizations, to be able to, start leveraging those NFTs in like real ways besides, just holding them in a wallet. So, we talk about that in here. We talk about how we want to monetize, both sides of the group, right? That's one thing that you and I think are big on for Soblocks is like, we don't want it just to be a one-way funnel. We're not interested in just spinning up a company, just so, we have one group getting rich off of everybody else, right? It's like we want to be able to have a more, balanced long-term, set of operation, goals that we do, with our community. And so a big part of that is being able to give back ways that the people that are using the system can be, earning. Sorry. Oh no. Cat attack. Hold on. Get out of here. Sorry. We want to be able to provide these ways, right, where people can not just give their data and make the site owners rich, right? It's like they can be they can control how they want to monetize their data, how, owners of groups can market to them and stuff like that, right? So it's like, people talk about this a lot, over the, past, decade or whatever, but it's like, off the top of my head, I can't really think of, one site I go to where, that's the case. So again, we mentioned that in here as how we want to approach monetization with that. And then in addition, we have these other goals that we had set out, right? For, experiments and things that we ran over the past year. And one of those, is in regards to search, right? Search is, key. We know obviously what, Google's done over, the decades and everything. And, they all started with search first, and then they ended up building things afterwards. And we think, there's some stuff to do there, and we released that. Our search engine tested it. We got some great data from it. Over the 9 months that we had it running, the index, grew over 72% from when we had turned it on and started indexing, around this time last year
And I
to,
want to interrupt
September.
just a second because I think
Yeah.
this is one thing that a lot of people don't know yet, or they don't really understand. There are so many different platforms that we've built. Well, you've built for me basically,
Mhm.
from the Cardano NFT search engine, the Cardano minter and tokenizer system.
Mhm.
We have all these things we've already built. We just haven't integrated them into Soblocks yet. So for people that have been following my channel for a long time, they may have caught me say, hey, we threw this up for some beta testing, some alpha testing. You can go mint your own token. You can go mint your own NFTs. We had a marketplace that we were kind of experimenting with, doing beta stuff, and basically ultimately getting the public to help with standalone elements of these things that are ultimately the idea has pretty much always been to build these platforms and then integrate them all into one blockchain based social media platform. And I don't really know how many people have understood that. That's what all of those have been about. So now
Yeah.
we're in a position where we're working on integrating all of the features and functionalities associated with a social media platform, while slowly ushering in and integrating all of these other standalone platforms and bringing them all together under one roof. And I wanted to make sure that that was clear for people.
Right. Yep. Yeah, and a big part of that, of course, is, I've launched tons of products with all kinds of different startups and companies, and one of the key things is being able to collect the metrics to figure out, like, how are people really using this? We put this idea out, nobody likes it. We can, there's no uptake in it, right? So it's like putting those projects out last year, was to satisfy the question, that you had, like, what are we going to get out of this? And also too is like, how do you build these systems? I mean, how do we build a search engine, into Cardano, right? And we know that there's blockchain explorers out there. So our approach was, with the search engine specifically was, we're not gonna just build another blockchain explorer. Let's build like what would Google be like if you could bolt it on top of Cardano, right? What kind of searches am I doing? What am I expecting, for the data and things like that, and so we took that approach. I think it was pretty cool. We got some, great numbers out of it. We saw that, searches grew from around 300 a month to, like, 3,500 a month, right? And this is with hardly any, marketing besides maybe you mentioning things in videos and stuff like that, right? So it's like, 3,500 people a month using this, non-marketed search engine, is pretty cool. So, and then, and in there too, it's like, the NFTs are all 721 metadata and stuff like that, right? So we built the parsers for that, and, there's a lot of stuff in there. We saw the complexity of the NFTs growing too, from the first, NFTs minted on, Cardano, how many properties they had to, this year was, it's like they've, grown a lot. So that was really cool. So again, like you mentioned, we have the code. At this point, it's going to be, how do we layer this into, what our roadmap is, and how can we actually, make this version that we would roll in even better than, last time, right? It's like we've learned a lot of things in that regard. So And then of course, once we start talking about search, we talk about ads, right? Because, again, that was the whole, Google's whole existence was, based on that. And, I'm not like I don't think either one of us are super ad people, right? It's like ads are actually annoying, but, Google figured out the way to make them useful. And so I think, we just, again, follow that model. We allow people, and this will come, later, but it's allowing people to control their data so they can anonymize, what they want to put up there as far as, it's not going to be like Facebook, right? Where they're just going in and, oh yeah, here's who you're married to. Here's, here's this, here's that. Oh, 6 months later, sorry, we didn't, sorry we did that, kind of thing, right? We're not going to do that. It's going to be from the beginning. It's going to be users control their data, and then again, also it plays back into what we talked about with the sharing is like, they're not only going to choose their anonymized data, okay, that they want to be, in the index to be targeted at for ads, but then it's like they're going to share in the profits of it too. So and BAT already kind of, the basic attention token from Brave already sort of pioneered that and everything. So, that's a huge product, in its own right. And, that's another one that we talked about, having on the horizon for next year and beyond. Another one we did was Marketplace, right? So, again, that was a big learning experiment. There were already, by the time, we dropped the Marketplace last year, there were already pretty established ones out there, CNFT.io. I think JPEG Store was, it popped up at that point. And so I think that the big question I had and that I wanted to get answered was, how, I think people are used to the eBay model. And so for NFTs, we wanted to explore the escrow, right, of being able to put your NFT into an escrow that we provide. And, with that, we could automate everything, right? We don't need you to wait around for, an email to say, yeah, I approved the sale that I had already listed and stuff like that. So we, built all that. We collected some good stats there. We validated, I think, what the hypothesis was, which was like, will people really like the escrow model? Will they be okay with that? I think eventually, once the marketplace really gets solidified into the roadmap and the code base, it makes sense that the escrow's on chain. It's not hosted by us or anything like that. It's contract based. So, we those things again we know later down the road, and so we have that coming on too. And then the last part we had in here, of course, was blockchain gaming, and I'll let you talk to this because this is kind of your baby as far as these other set of features we want to do.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, I have, there's a tabletop game that I've been playing for years, and I'm a huge fan. I have hundreds and hundreds of models that I've painted and things. And then when I moved to Florida, nobody plays that game here. Everybody plays Warhammer. And so I thought, okay, if I want to continue playing this game, I have to build like a digital version of it. And so I started doing that, and through development, it's kind of changed where we're basically building it as our own IP, like our own new game, using some similar mechanics and some similar rule sets and things, but very different. And so the whole blockchain gaming aspect is I want to basically integrate this game into Soblox so that anybody within Soblox could potentially basically go to war with someone else. So if you're in a discussion with somebody and it so happens that they're a player, maybe they'll have a little icon that says they're a player of this game, and then you say, hey, let's battle this out. Maybe you're having a discussion and you're disagreeing on something, or what, I don't know, you just want to play a game. You find somebody else in the platform, and then I want the game to be tracked on the blockchain. So when you're playing, and not just this game, this is just kind of the flagship for the system that I see coming. But ultimately, I want to be able to have international competitions from people all over the world that are basically competing in this very big, strategic, turn-based kind of war game for prizes and for benefits and unique sculpts of models that they might put in their list and things like that. So but and it's not just limited to this game, but again, it's just, this is the system that I've already have built. I have a couple of developers in the Ukraine, and we've been playing back and forth. We can play the game now, you know what I mean? But now it's at a point where, okay, we're fine tuning the UI, we're making a lot of these more graphical changes, style changes, and then it's all about expanding. It's about expansion of the models that we're adding into the system, because ultimately the models in this game are going to be represented as NFTs that are going to be tradable on a marketplace. And so, and the thing of it is at some point I want to build it so that the history of each model is cataloged. This model once belonged to this player who won this tournament, and so forth and so on. And I want all of the information explorable and searchable. And that's something that I've never seen anywhere. I've never seen anything like that done. And I think it's engrossing, especially when, there's some tabletop gamers are superstitious in some ways about their dice rolls and the kind of dice they use. There are all these little weird quirks that we have. And I just think that the more you can dive into a particular model or a character or a list or whatever, the more information you can gather about that, it'll just make tournaments that much more competitive while also being that much more transparent. So I want to basically be able to do things like that for this game, and then other blockchain based games in the future who want to take apart or become a partner in Blocks.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, no, it's obvious that that kind of stuff is inevitable, right? I mean, it's just going to happen. So yeah, I think that's a really cool thing, for us to be able to put on the roadmap going forward, and being aware as we're building everything out, like just all these areas that we can be interfacing with these other games and platforms and stuff. So that's awesome. And then of course, like in the PDF, we just go through and just talk about some of the development, how we approach it, and the stack we use, what we're going to be doing about Catalyst, the Blok token, which I will talk about in a little bit, and a couple other things like a little bit more details on what we want to do with boosting, minting, the marketing community, and things like that. So this is all free for people to get access to and download on the governance site. And like it says up at the top, we're going to be continually updating it, probably monthly, quarterly, as things change, right? We don't just have a set in stone, this is how it is, and this is what we're going to do, right? It's like all these things end up changing, tweaking, they're malleable and stuff like that. And so this is going to provide a good foundation for us to be able to communicate that as to what people should expect, right, when we're going through and building the platform out and everything. So
you should show the
go
new
down
widget
that
you added to the Block site, because I actually think that's pretty cool, where you're tabulating the block tokens that people are generating. You've even got a leaderboard, and I'm like, okay, that's cool. Someone's already beating me.
Yeah. So that's actually, I will get to that in a sec. That's in the presentation here. So go. So we finished again. I just kind of went into detail, but the light paper is finally updated to this version that we can share and people can get an idea about everything. And the next part of the whole governance, is obviously the NFTs that we have from Mint. Those will be available until the end of March. So there's plenty of them. People can go get them, and they can help with the project. They can be part of the governance as we go along in the future. And owning either a Murder of Crow or a governance NFT will get you content creation access into the site for this part of the beta we're in. So either one of those two, you hold those NFTs, you sign up, boom, you're in. You can start posting. So that's basically governance. We're going to get a spot with that, and we'll continue to update there as we make more progress and have things to announce. And so the current status of where we're at with the project, I'm running the project 1 week sprints. So that means basically 1 week development cycles. We should expect every week to see something. Our current sprint version number is 058. And again, this is all available in the app when you have an account, you can go under the support, and there's a changelog tab, and you can see in the changelog tab, everything that we've been doing, fixing bugs and things like that. This is what it looks like for the last iteration we did. We added in that you can now earn Blok, so you can when you create posts, when you create comments, you automatically earn Blok. And so we have the token finalized on the token registry. We got the icon in, we got all the decimal places in, we got all that stuff in there. So, the tokens, it's there on chain, and we're initially going through a couple phases, which I will talk about in coming slides about, what our development phases are going to be for, Blok, and how we're using them. And so we've done with phase one, which is basically like being able to internally, grant you Blok, right? You get rewards for doing things, and you have a way to track it. And so we also talked about, we right now we have this loop of about a day that we're going through, and then we process, all of the things that people are creating, right? All the posts and the comments and things. And so when you create a comment, we leave a little bit of a time boundary in there, in case you delete it or something, right? Before we want to grant the Blok. And that's part of that is because we want to incentivize you, to obviously, commit content, and then, not be, deleting it and doing things like that, right? So we want to reward people that, have a consistent, time frame that they're, putting out content and stuff like that. And so we can, I can show you real quick. We have, I think there's a testing example somewhere here. Yeah, so we can see in this, this is a comment here that was added. So we can see around some of these other comments, right, that there's numbers, the icons colored in, and I hover over it and I can see, hey, there's a 5 Blok were processed on here, right? So you get 5. When it's grayed like this, it's sort of in this period where it's waiting to be processed, right? So, it's going to take a day for these things to show up, and then when they do, they'll show up in your wallet and everything. And so we definitely are making progress on that. We also added in a share button. So, that's obvious, what you would be doing with that. The, bottom of every post here, there's a share button. We'll be putting this out, in the feeds as well, as we go forward. So, you can easily share, and then it's like, hey, you copied it to the clipboard, and then you can paste it wherever you want. The other thing is we had a couple people that helped us nail down a few things about profile images, so we worked out there's like a max of, for your actual profile picture, 256K, and then your banner, you get a megabyte and everything. And so tested that with a few people, and they were like, yeah, that fixed my issue, whereas before it wasn't updating correctly. So we pushed that out there too. And then we also had a bug fix that we pushed out that, fixes some styles and things on mobile so that they render, as expected. So for the Blok token, like I said, we have 3 phases that we're doing with this. First phase is done, and this was basically, to get the token created, mint it and everything. We did 600 million. We got 6 decimals like, ADA has. So, you're not doing, 10, 12, 8, calculations if you have to or whatever. It's just, it's the same as ADA. So it's simple. Like I said, you get 5 Blok per post, 1 Blok per comment. That's all out. It's done. It was in the last release, and people are getting Blok. So phase 2, which we're targeting towards the end of the month, we're going to be focusing on internal features, right? So being able to associate blocks with liking, boosting, and just being able to send Blok to people, right? Why not? I mean, if I want to send you 50 or whatever, then we want to have that mechanism do that. So we'll be rolling that in, towards the end of the month, probably. in the next, couple of iterations. And then what that's going to allow us to do is it's going to allow us to then finally establish this ephemeral threshold that we've been talking about, which is, basically the top posts, stay, and then that sets up this whole chain of events that allows the system then to give you the ability to to mint your post as an NFT, on the blockchain. We're not going to be doing that in phase 2. We're not even going to be doing it yet in phase 3. But basically, by establishing that threshold, what we're able to do is now we can, say in the system that, yeah, this post that you did, it got a lot of engagement on it. You got a lot of block from it, and so it's crossed over to this threshold. And when the system has that feature, you'll be able to click a button and mint it, and then you'll own that post NFT, and then sky's the limit at that point, right? So getting that ephemeral threshold set up, right, where we have these posts that will not drop off the system, instead live in the system. That's going to be set up for phase 2. And then finally, of course, we talked about phase 3. What we want to do, we want to be able to actually then do everything on chain, right? So we want to be able to draw on chain to your wallet. We want to be able to deposit from your wallet. So we're looking at rolling those out around December, January. And so for the future beyond that, you and I have talked a lot about this. We've shared Charles' videos back and forth, links and everything. It's really, we see the future next year, depending on Cardano's IOG's release schedule. We really want to have this all based on Hydra, and we want to have it on Hydra for speed and cost. So you want to be able to send block token very quickly for very cheap, and we want to be able to do it all on chain. And in order to be able to do that, we're waiting for Hydra. We need that. We could technically do it now, but again, as we found out with some of the marketplace and some of the other sites we did, right, it's just there's a lot of time where people are waiting, for things, and Cardano now is pretty cheap, right? To create a transaction. I don't know, what is it like? If I wanted to send you block token right now out of my wallet, on chain to you, I think it's pretty cheap.
I think it's still be around
5
like 45 cents or something.
No, I think it's cheaper than that. I think the transaction fees are around 0.18 ADA.
Okay. So
yeah,
then it'd be like
it's
8 or 9
cheap.
cents.
Yeah,
It's
but we want to
cheap, but
make
the
it
problem
cheaper.
is what happens when we end up post halving into the bull market and it starts going up
Right,
quite a
exactly.
bit. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, and so it's so Hydra, supposedly will solve all that, and we get side chains. It's what Lightning was supposed to be, all that stuff. So it's like, okay, cool. We're waiting for the 1.0 release, or when it hits mainnet. Right now, it's I think at like 0.8, and it's all on testnet, and so that's very good. They're making good progress, but we need it. We need it on mainnet. So that's what we're doing with that. Pre-Hydra, of course, we will allow, like we mentioned back in a couple slides back, we will allow block to be withdrawn or deposited. And so, as we, get closer to that and develop that, we'll, let everybody know.
I will say the one thing that I before we do allow withdrawals and deposits, I think there's one thing that I do want to see and I want to resolve and figure out, and that is the verification. Because with the AML KYC verification, I don't know, especially now with all of this FTX gobbledygook and the, whether, regardless of what the cause, the plan, what was orchestrated, what was not, what was the point of all of it. You're talking like 10% of the global GDP or whatever that's basically just been wiped. And basically the regulatory efforts that are likely to come once a lot of the damage has been truly ironed out. And I don't know what sort of requirements are going to be associated with, say, a blockchain social media platform and the constant, use, let's just call it use, whether it's sending, receiving, using, spending, whatever, of a token. You know what I mean? And I
Yeah.
do believe that if I'm to hazard a guess, they are going to require some sort of AML KYC system in place for every user on any kind of social media platform, even Twitter. I even posted on Twitter to Elon Musk, and I'm like, hey, because he's talked about using cryptocurrencies on the platform and doing different things, and I'm like, how about, rather than have this craziness verification system where you've got people doing fake accounts and then verifying them, why don't you go through an AML KYC through an API and do some sort of bulk deal with them, knowing you're going to have millions and millions of people going through the process, making these companies a bunch of money. A lot of them are AI driven anyway, but you do have to provide your ID or your passport, and then those are read and scanned and things like that. And ultimately, I expect Blocks and any other blockchain based platform to be required to do something similar, because even though the waters are still so murky, I want to try and plan ahead. I like to try and look ahead at what I believe is coming and be prepared for that from the beginning, rather than be constantly playing a state of catch up and, like catch me if you can kind of stuff. I don't want to get caught up in a lot of that. So,
Yeah.
before we start doing, real on-chain transactions outside of this internal ledger system that we've built, I definitely want to make sure that we're prepared for that and we have an answer for it. And at some point when things start really getting going, we'll likely end up, I will probably, I have a couple lawyers that I've used and for different things, whether it was vetting projects or whatever, and so I'll probably end up bringing one of them on board and say, hey, how is the regulation stuff looking? How do you see things changing? What can we do to be ahead of that? Because if anything, that could very well be a topic of I don't know what word I'm looking for, but basically a way that something that separates us from the rest and gives us growth opportunity. If we're ahead of that game instead of playing catch up, like I believe many others will be in the future.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think too, just to add to that, I think there'll be ways we can figure out how to balance that, right? Is in like the blue check marks or whatever, right? So it's like, if you want to be fully verified on the system, be able to interact, on chain and everything, you go through it, boom, you're cleared. And then, some people might not, want to do that. And so, okay, maybe it's okay legally, it's all cleared, and you just don't get these other set of capabilities and things like that. So yeah, I think there's a lot to be said about being at the front of that, because again, this is another one of those things that's just, obvious the way everything's going, that yeah, like it or not, it's probably going to be inescapable for at least, people in the States and stuff. So
Yeah, I think it's going to get a much, much, much more stringent. I mean, there's no, if what I believe to have happened with FTX is exactly what has happened, this is just a springboard for what's to come in terms of
right.
regulation and control over the space.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
what that means, moving forward, I don't know. I think, let's just put it this way: the more ways we can make things more green and I don't know, dare I say, controllable to some extent, I think is going to play a big factor in things.
Yeah.
So, I just ultimately SoBlocks. The whole goal of SoBlocks is to inspire empower people, and empower and inspire content creators. The cream rises to the top. It rewards the people who put in the time, and at the same time can reward those that are often engaging in that content. And and the rest just disappears. It's like, I want to get rid of all of the waste associated with social media, and I want a public governance system that the public
Hmm.
can dictate to a degree what is good, what is bad, what should be rid of, what's garbage, what doesn't belong here, and so and I think ultimately we're going to get there. I think that what we've been doing lately has been we've been really jumping leaps and bounds, I think, in terms of development and the framework for the system. The graphical user interface and things, that'll all come into play more down the road as the features have been put in and we have the functionality. And ultimately, the only thing that I get concerned with sometimes is just the finances of it. Like, at what point do we start going after outside financing? Who do we source for that? What direction do we want to go with that? My biggest thing is I want to be able to get the capital necessary to build this and have the infrastructure, the servers, the throughput, all of that stuff in place without it ending up in the control of somebody who would completely change the paradigm of this platform and change its overall goal and mission. And that's really important, because
Yeah.
I don't want this to become some centralized, I don't know what, like, you probably understand what I'm saying. You know what I mean? I don't want this to be I don't want this to be Facebook. I don't want this to be some platform that's used to really control people. I want this to be a platform used to empower people and educate people and entertain people. You know what I mean? But in a pure sense, not where we're trying to pit people against other people for increased engagement. I want it to be a more organic, safe space across the board. And so I think that's a part of I don't know, man. I'm kind of rambling. I have such high hopes, and there's so much that I want to accomplish with this platform, and I feel like we're at the perfect position to be able to do so
Hmm.
much. And I just want to make sure that we have the means of being able to do it. And ultimately, it's going to evolve around the public who sees this mission. They're reading the light paper, they're seeing what we're building, how it's being built, what steps we're taking, and ultimately helping, getting involved,
Yeah.
engaging in the platform, using it. I assume you're done sharing your screen.
Um, I think I
Oh,
had a couple of quick things. I'll just blast through these really quick, and not to stop your momentum. Yeah, again, a lot of this, based on Hydra, until we get Hydra, like you're saying, and, probably we'll update the slides for next week, maybe touch about KYC more on it. But, yeah, but, everything's in the system still. And then, this is what our current sprint is, 058. We're going to be focusing mostly on bug fixes, UI stability. Again, we got users that are, on our Telegram group, in the ticketing system that are just, great. They're just helping out, hey, I found this little problem or this little problem. And so, my goal with them is to remove those barriers, so they don't keep having, right, the issues and everything. Um, Again, we'll see these internal, we'll see some internal interactions with Block by the end of the month, probably. And, I guess we're TBD more on, the withdraw and deposit on chain, because of, the KYC and stuff like that. So, that is pretty much it. Oh, and I'll be putting these slides as we do these videos. You can include the links in the descriptions and stuff. All the slides, we'll start dumping the PDFs and everything on governance, so people can go back and they can actually track and they can see, yeah, well, what has the cadence been, for this stuff, right? Already on governance, we have. Let me just show this real quick, because I had this set up. Already on governance, we have some of these things already laid out as far as, specifically what we wanted to do high level, with just the governance itself. So we'll be, having more of this kind of graphical roadmap in later, for the rest of the project and everything. And so, yeah, I think this is key to basically, and honestly, it's kind of expected nowadays, for, you know, communicating status on projects and, stuff like that. So we always want to have a place where people can go and they can, see like, what are they doing this quarter? What did their last, development update do? Let me go through these slides and just kind of read through it, right? So um, I think that's all going to be key, going forward, and that's going to be helping really convey the vision, right? So other people understand what we're doing. Oh man, that's a great idea. With like, I think that's really cool that you guys are allowing, group access only by NFTs. I have a series that I'd love to do with that, right? So it's like, by communicating those things, because we can't just sit there and tell everybody every single thing that's in the system, right? There's a lot of features in it. And so, hopefully these development updates and, other videos are gonna, clue people in on some of these things that, they'll really pick up on, and then, um, they'll join in on the future usage and
Yeah, a
everything.
lot of
So
it's just going to be about community involvement and engagement,
yeah,
experimenting with things, seeing what works and what's possible. Not everybody, very few. I mean, I'm sure this video is probably going to get, a few hundred views from people that are actually interested, and then it'll be those people that are watching this that help educate others. I'm probably going to go ahead and create a subreddit specifically for Blok, so people can discuss things there and just kind of keep things updated, post these videos, start
hmm
building that community slowly over time and things. And we'll get there. I mean, this is not a an overnight project by any stretch. This has been going on a while. We've been doing so many different things behind the scenes, and now it's just slowly bringing it all together and hoping that the public ultimately appreciates what's being done and sees the value in using it. And yeah, I mean, we'll just keep updating people as we go. And I know that we're working with those guys on the Project Catalyst submission, and we'll probably touch with them this week as well and see if we can't get an
yeah,
update, start really hashing things out, and just start getting the train moving forward. Working with me for as long as we've been working together, I think I'm pretty risk averse when it comes to basically doing anything that could be, I don't know, like go wrong. I guess that's one of my biggest fears. Is just I want to make sure that everything is as smooth and smooth and quality as possible. And so it's I think we're getting there, and yeah, that's it really.
yeah.
Go get those governance tokens if you want to be a part of the governance system when that rolls out. And there's going to be a lot of changes coming, folks. So, stick around, and we'll be here to update you. Maybe next time we'll add some music and some atmosphere or something. I don't know. We'll have
There you
to
go.
get these a little more exciting somehow. I don't
Yeah,
know how we're going to
yeah.
do that. Because the hardcore tech junkies are going to be all over this, and everyone else is going to fall asleep to listening to us ramble about features. I don't know. We'll figure something out. But it's educational, and I mean, I feel like we dropped a lot of information just in this little 42-minute bit. So hopefully it's well received. And until next time, guys, see you soon and crow your coins.